In this video, I'm going to go over the top 10 champions for beginners in Wild Rift. Let's get started. Kicking off the list with my number 10 pick, I have Ashe, the AD carry. I think Ashe is very good for beginners because her kit and her abilities are very easy to use and very straightforward. What I do really like about Ashe is she teaches one of the fundamentals of Wild Rift, which is vision. Her third ability actually can shoot a bird out, onto the map, and it will provide vision anywhere it goes, which is something that new players need to understand. So I think that skill is really good because it kind of teaches it to them. And also Ashe has an ultimate, which is just very strong. It's an arrow that you can shoot out, goes anywhere on the map, and you can kind of guide it a little bit to actually hit a champion, and it's just really good for introducing beginners to kind of the idea of a cross-map ability or cross-map ultimate. As far as what I'm using on Ashe, this is what I have for my items and runes. These are pretty basic, pretty essential for beginners to use. You could change this kind of stuff up later once you learn her better. Coming in at number 9, this is my most highly recommended jungler for any beginner, and it is Vi. Vi's mechanics are just so simple, and her early game is so strong. So this kind of introduces beginners to the idea of early game junglers, which are basically junglers that are very strong in the early game. They're all about ganking lanes, flanking the enemies, and helping their teammates, but later in the game they're not that strong, so they need to do all their action and all their fighting and all that stuff in the early game. And a lot of beginners, they kind of think that as the game goes on they'll get stronger, but not with early game champions such as Vi, which, like I said, is an early game jungler. If you do want to copy some stuff for Vi, this is what I have on her right now. Note that Guardian Angel's kind of meta right now, so that might change, but this is the basic stuff. Coming in at number 8, we have another jungler, and this is Wukong, the Monkey King. The main reason I like Wukong is because he is a really good jungler or top laner depending on where you play him, and his abilities are just very straightforward, kind of like Vi's, except Wukong is a little bit more of a late game scaling champion. What I do really like about Wukong, and it's very easy to use, is his ultimate. He basically spins his staff around and it knocks up everybody in the area, just providing a bunch of utility for your team, and kind of just introduces the idea of team fighting again for newer players, because his ultimate is just entirely team fight based because it knocks up everybody in the area twice. So yeah, Wukong, very good jungler if you're looking for a jungler that has some good early game ganking abilities and a very good team fighting ultimate. This is what I'm currently using on Wukong, so copy it if you please. Coming in at number 7, we have Ahri. Ahri is a mid laner and she is a burst mage. Her skills are very easy to land. Her second skill is like 3 little fires that go around her and they just attack pretty much the nearest target. Very easy stuff. And her third skill actually is a stun, which is kind of like a charm. It brings them to you when you hit them, so it kind of introduces beginners to the idea of stunning an enemy and just making them basically, they can't do anything, so everyone near you, your teammates, can all attack them at once. And then her ultimate is one of the best ultimates for beginners because it allows you to do 3 dashes for just 1 ultimate, and you could use it to get away from somebody who's trying to kill you, or you could use it to get closer to somebody that you're trying to finish off. So it's just overall very loaded with some good tools that you can use, and as a beginner these tools are very easy to utilize. And this is the Ahri build that I have. I'm pretty sure this one's just default, so there's nothing special here. Alright, coming in at number 6, we have Blitzcrank. Blitzcrank is iconic for one of his abilities, and that is his first ability, the hook. The hook is very good in the early game, and of course it scales into the late game because it's basically just a, come here, I'm gonna kill you, and if there are any teammates nearby, they're gonna make sure you die for sure. I think he's very good, and it just introduces the idea of landing a skill shot, because the hook, I swear, the more hooks you land, the higher chance you have of winning that game. That's how good the hook is. All of his other abilities are pretty good. He has a little knock up where he can smack the ground and knock people up. He silences people with his ultimate. But most importantly, it's all about landing that hook. And if you can do that in the laning phase, you'll get your AD carry nice and fed. And you'll overall just get better at landing skill shots, which is a really important skill for beginners to learn. And this is the Blitzcrank build I have, mostly tank and utility stuff since he is a support. Alright, coming in at number 5, we have one of the easiest champions in the game, and I really mean that when I say it. We have Garen. Garen is really good. Now, just because he's an easy champion to play, that doesn't mean he's bad. He's actually very good because he's so hard to make a mistake on. All of his abilities are very straightforward. His ultimate does a ton of damage, and you can't miss your ultimate. You literally cannot. It's not a skill shot. You just hover over somebody, drop your sword on them and do a ton of damage. And his passive is very, very good for beginners, especially if you're just new to Baron lane, because that's where Garen plays, and you take a lot of damage, you take a bad trade, guess what? Garen's passive will heal you up out of combat. So if you're out of a fight, just for a brief moment, Garen's passive will start healing you up at a very quick rate compared to other champions. So he's really easy to just get health back that you accidentally lost from a bad trade. This is just the basic build for Garen. I mean, there's different kinds. There's like ones with lethality, but I'm not going to get into that. Just know this is a basic tanky build that you can use for him. Coming in at number 4, we have Tristana. Now, Tristana is an ADC with a lot of different gap closers. Her second skill just lets you literally just jump away. And I mean, if you get a kill or your bomb gets an explosion, I'm not going to talk specifically about what the bomb is and stuff like that, but it resets your second skill's cooldown so you can jump again. And the jump has a far range, so you can either use that jump to use it like, aggressively get onto your opponent and finish them off, or you could also use that jump to get away, which is really important, especially if you're playing something like mid lane Tristana, because if you're getting ganked in the mid lane like you do a lot, then she can just jump away. And her ultimate is kind of like a cannon shot that just shoots the enemy away, and it's really good for just, getting out of something safely, or using it for burst to finish somebody off. So yeah, Tristana, she's kind of hard to kill because a lot of her abilities are just like, hey, get away from me. So if you're a beginner and you don't like dying, try Tristana. Now, I've seen a lot of different builds for Tristana, but this is one of the basic ones. It just involves a lot of crit, a lot of damage. Just know that Tristana scales very well, so don't take too many fights in the early game. Work on your items, and you should be good to go. Coming in at number 3, we have the best low elo jungler. Many would agree that it is Master Yi. The reason Master Yi is so good is because a lot of games in lower elos, and when I say lower elo, I mean like gold and below, they tend to go on longer because newer players don't really know how to end the game quickly. So Master Yi scales extremely well. He's known as the pentakill machine, actually. His mechanics, there are not really any. He's so easy to use. A lot of his abilities are just like tap the ability and boom, you used it. And then his ultimate's also very good because if you fall behind on Master Yi, which is very easy to do early game since he's not that strong in the early game, you can use his ultimate to get away because it makes you run super, super fast. And that's also one of the reasons he gets a lot of pentakills, is because when he gets ahead, he uses his ultimate and just chases down everybody in the fight and comes out with 5 kills and everybody's dead. And this is the build that I have on Master Yi. Coming in at number 2, we have Kennen. Now, he does have a really important skill shot in his kit, which is his first skill, so it kind of, introduces, again, newer players to landing skill shots. It has a very low cooldown, so you're going to be throwing it out a lot, so it can kind of help you practice hitting your skill shots. Now, that's not why Kennen's good. The reason Kennen is good is for 2 big reasons. One, his third ability is very, very good for just getting away from a fight or getting closer. It basically makes you go super, super fast for a few seconds. And finally, the reason that makes Kennen super, super good is because he has one of the easiest and most powerful ultimates in the entire game, and it's called, I believe, Maelstrom or Thunder Maelstrom, and he basically just shocks everybody around him in his area, dealing a ton of damage over a few seconds, and he can actually stun them as well as he applies his stacks of lightning. And just know that Kennen is very, very easy to use. He's a team fight monster, and since Wild Rift is based around a lot of different team fights around the map, his ultimate it's just so much better. So yeah, Kennen, very, very good beginner champion. Alright, so this is the Kennen build I have. Now, there's a lot of different kinds, but this is just the basic one. Before I hop into the number 1 spot for this list, I'm going to discuss 2 honorable mentions that didn't quite make it on the list, but I think they are very good beginner picks. So first we have Misfortune. She's a very mechanically simple AD carry, really strong laning phase, and overall just really good for new dragon laners. My second honorable mention would go to Olaf. I think Olaf is a really good Baron laner or jungler, and what makes him so good for beginners is that he's basically a melee attack only champion. That is his main source of damage, and melee attacking, it's not that hard to do. So yeah, those are my 2 honorable mentions. Now let's get into the number 1 pick. Alright, coming in at the number 1 spot for the best champions for beginners, I went ahead and threw in Darius. The reason Darius is so good is because he is just the ultimate Baron lane 1v1 close range fighter, and his abilities are all melee. There are no skill shots, and he does an insane amount of damage. Now, Darius also introduces a very important concept, which is having extended fights on champions that favor them. Now, the reason Darius favors extended fights, one, not only because he's pretty tanky and he does a ton of damage, but his passive actually applies stacks. It's called Hemorrhage. You can stack up to 5 times, and it makes the enemies bleed over time. So the longer you're in the fight with them, hitting them with abilities and auto attacks, they're just gonna keep taking extra bonus damage. And of course, this champion's ultimate is known for being so strong in Wild Rift because you can use it on a champion, and if it kills them, the ultimate cooldown will completely reset and you get a whole nother ultimate. So you can get like triple kills, quadra kills, even pentakills with this. So it's just an amazing ultimate on a really simple and straightforward Baron laner. Oh, and this is my Darius build right here. There's a lot of different ones for this champion as well, but you can go ahead and use this one if you're looking for something to start with. Alright, well that is going to do it for this video of the top 10 champions for beginners in Wild Rift. If you enjoyed the video, you know how to let me know. And also, if you're looking for a community of people that also play Wild Rift that you can talk with or find games with, go ahead and check out my Discord server. It's called The Rift. In there, you'll find a lot of subscribers and other Wild Rift community members. So go ahead and check it out. Alright, well that is it for the video. It has been Gregory, and I'll see you next time on The Rift.